Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-bum. All right, we are live. Fantastic. Awesome. So, in this one, we are doing Hexagram 57. So I'm just going to jump over here, get this all ready. And I really hope that you're enjoying this series of reading this out. And for those of you that don't know, that there is no audio book for this version of the I Ching, and I love this version of the I Ching. It's helped me redefine my relationship with human design and the gene keys and a few other systems. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm just gonna jump over here. All right, here we go. So, 57, the penetrating, and also after the sixth line, I'll be doing my own contemplations. You don't have to stick around for that. All right. 57, the penetrating, the judgment. The penetrating, success through what is small. It furthers one to have somewhere to go. It furthers one to see the great man. In this hexagram, the sage describes the cosmic principle of penetration. It has several fields of application. Penetration is the way our thoughts penetrate through the light to the sage when we ask for help, and is the way the sage's thoughts penetrate to us as insights, intuitions, mind flashes, and correct responses to emergency situations. It is the means by which our thoughts get to the root causes of problems. It is the way our thoughts communicate with others truth. It is the means by which the inner yes and inner no reach all parts of our own psyche and body. It is how the inner yes or inner no, when said to others, communicates to their inner truth. It is the way the inner no corrects projections, spells, poison arrows, and negative thoughts by meeting them in the realm of consciousness, and by initiating transformation. It is the way chi is transmitted to our hearts from the cosmic source to renew our life force. Penetration describes the way the smallest correct thoughts communicate sympathetically through inner channels between people. It contrasts with the way the smallest incorrect thoughts and intentions communicate by disharmonious vibrations that are felt by a person's various senses. Such vibrations also communicate a person's doubts, fears, and feelings of guilt. Penetrating to the root causes of problems is the undertaking shown by the lines of this hexagram. It is the way the person consulting the sage goes about finding incorrect phrases and images in his inner program that act out in his life in the form of impulses and irrational behavior, and which can cause him inner distress, illness, and fate. Correct thoughts and feelings that penetrate invisibly to others' inner truth are loving and caring thoughts, and also feelings of gratitude or regret. They can also be conscious inner messages that warn another that he will create a fate if he continues in wrong acts, or tell him that he can ask for help from the cosmos. Conscious thoughts can come from inner truth that can also make someone aware of a mistaken idea or belief without any need for them to be spoken aloud. When the inner yes and inner no are said to one's body cells, they heal conditions of ill health. The inner yes is said to affirm the importance of the cells and to validate the senses they contain. The inner no is said to the phrases that have diminished the importance of certain body parts, as when the mind or soul are elevated over the body. Such conscious affirmation of the body by the mind removes the blocks that prevent the body from receiving its vital chi energy from the heart. The inner yes is likewise said to the love one feels for another, and to the other's true self. The inner no is said to all aspects of the ego in oneself or in another. The inner no penetrates to the true self and strengthens it. The inner no, said as a conscious acknowledgement of one's feelings of inner truth, penetrates to the invisible world of the helpers, engaging them in the need of the moment. The helper that is most activated by it is the helper of transformation. This is the one of the meanings of success through the small. Also, when the conscious mind acknowledges the inner feeling of needing help, this is the modesty that draws the sage to his side. Penetrating also describes the ability of a person who is connected with his feelings of inner truth, thus is able to distinguish thought, which is of cosmic origin, from thought, which is the activity of the fantasy and rational minds. He is also able, through his senses, to distinguish half-truths from untruths. Generally, half-truths and truths feel incomplete or questionable, causing the person to ponder them. But when the riddle in them is swallowed as wisdom, instead of being rejected until thoroughly understood, then the person ignores his feelings. These distinctions are made by the common sense. Common sense, however, is often held under a spell created by seeing the body with its myriad senses as animal, therefore inferior, putting a guilt spell on our animal body, nature. Also, putting a guilt spell on our animal body, putting a guilt spell on our animal bodily nature also blocks our common sense. The words of the judgment, "It furthers one to have somewhere to go," refer to asking questions of the sage that lead to penetrating to the inner truth of the matter. All ideas that people take for granted as true need to be questioned. People often consult the sage to find out what to do. They transpose their feudal idea of the father to the sage, hoping to be told whether their ideas and plans will bring good fortune, success, or misfortune, failure. The sage will indeed answer, but the person may misunderstand the answer and act incorrectly if he does not know why an idea or plan or attitude brings good fortune or misfortune. If he is to succeed enduringly and not simply be tricked by the ego, he needs to penetrate to and understand the cosmic principles of harmony that underlie all existence. Penetrating to the basics leads to the clarity of view pictured by the Chinese ideogram I in the name I Ching. Like laws of physics, these basic laws set the correct limits that apply to human thought and action. To go against them or to exceed them is like trying to fly without wings. With the help of the sage, a person can penetrate to these basic principles. They are reflected in his own inner truth. Only when a person understands these principles can he know whether his thoughts and actions will lead to success that endures or to misfortune. Gaining clarity to understand the inner truth of each situation is the first goal of consulting the sage. The phrase, "It furthers one to see the great man," is counsel for the person receiving this hexagram to make the sage of the I Ching his teacher. The way the sage teaches is through the penetrating influence of inner truth. penetration breaks through into a person's consciousness as a realization, just when he is ready for that particular realization. The sage does not exceed what the student is ready to perceive, or superimpose knowledge upon him. Neither does it engage in inner argument or reasoning or engage in any effort to prove the validity of its counsel. It only engages in cooperation with the student's receptivity and openness. It leads him to experience the cosmic truths for himself within the context of his daily life situations. Thus, the person helped feels the personal essence of that truth, its harmony, and its resonance with his whole being. Through this process of daily learning, his confidence in his inner truth, which had been shattered or eroded through the conditioning process of the collective ego, is gradually re-established. Gradually, then, his true self grows up and becomes a mature adult. Receiving this hexagram may be telling a person that he needs to penetrate to the root of the problem at hand by asking the sage to help him understand what he needs to know. He's being counseled to understand its inner meaning as well as its outer components. At the root of all interpersonal problems lie false seed phrases and or images that are embedded in people's hearts. In particular, he needs to look for fears and doubts that were created in childhood. As noted above, this hexagram also wants to make the person receiving it aware of the penetrating, transforming effect of saying the inner no to incorrect actions in himself and in others. See page 531, saying the inner no. I did a video of that yesterday. The way ego-driven thoughts and feelings communicate from one person to another is quite different. They communicate in the form of vibrations given off by pressure, fear, doubt, and gossip. Negative thoughts gain acceptance by others through creating fears that cause them to doubt their inner truth. Negative thoughts and feelings can also take on the form of mental demons that jump from shoulder to shoulder, whispering into each person's ear. These fears and doubts open the door to unpleasant experiences and difficult situations. They also put spells and projections upon the person and those around him, keeping them trapped in their unfavorable behaviors. Bad intentions of an aggressor register in the intended victim as an inner warning. Whether the person acts on his inner sense of caution depends on whether he habitually dismisses it. Success through the small refers to listening to those small warnings. Generally speaking, people with bad intentions sense through their inner feelings those persons around them who habitually dismiss their inner sense of caution and are drawn to them. I'm going to say that bit again for those of you that attract all those narcissists. Generally speaking, people with bad intentions sense through their inner feelings those persons around them who habitually dismiss their inner sense of caution and are drawn to them. In another example, the desire of a person who is actively looking for a mate is communicated by vibration. This is my work. Since the desire comes from the ego in him rather than from his inner truth, he sends the message that his inner space is an open house to all those prospective candidates. Those he draws are the exact complement to the ego in himself. This mental approach contrasts with the person who asks the cosmos to bring him the person who is correct for him in all respects, and turns the matter over to the cosmos. He will find the person who complements his true nature. I see Cassie as that for me. A person may also receive this hexagram when his negative inner thoughts are jumping onto another with the effect of repelling him or inciting resistance. His thoughts are instigating the negative reaction, causing the person to behave exactly as he has been projected to behave. Moreover, such thoughts can create a fate. The lines. Grab a drink of water. I got line 2 and 5 today. All right. Line 1. In advancing and in retreating, the perseverance of a warrior furthers. Just want to check something. Great. Cool. This line warns a person that in contemplating just the appearance of things and drawing the superficial conclusions to which this leads, he will create spells or projections. The ego is ever busy in this kind of activity, keeping the observations focused on the plane of the apparent, because doing so keeps the person from consulting his inner feelings and common sense. In this manner, the ego maintains control of the personality. Perseverance of a warrior refers to his being on guard against the quick conclusions the ego likes to draw and maintaining contact with his inner feelings. An example is the phrase or realization, "I'm getting older." If the person is not inwardly alert, this statement will draw the mind images and traditional beliefs about aging, which have to do with going toward death, and in the process being attacked by various ailments and the shrinking of his abilities. I'll highlight that. Adopting these images puts projections and spells upon himself. The unfortunate consequences are guaranteed once the projections or spells have been programmed into the psyche. This line warns the person to be on guard, to listen to the kinds of preconceptions that have entered his mind about a given situation and to reject them all by saying the inner no to them. Advancing and retreating with the perseverance of the warrior also describes the way a person says the inner no to another's incorrect behavior. Advancing refers to saying the inner no, and retreating means turning the matter over to the helpers and disengaging. The perseverance of a warrior represents maintaining a neutral awareness of the situation. Line 2. Penetration under the bed. Helpers are used in great numbers. Good fortune. Under the bed is a metaphor for a projection or a spell that is influencing a person or situation without his being aware of it. A spell may have been put on him or another at a prior time, which is now causing either ill health or behavioral problems. The line counsels the person to penetrate to the phrases and or images of the spell by identifying when it was installed, by whom, and then to evoke the memory of the time so that the phrases become evident. The helpers are the ones that are needed to break it. In the case of all spells which affect a person's health, looking for relief from traditional sources, either in medicine, religion, science, or in the esoteric field, will at best only drive the symptoms to a new location, so long as the seeds of the problem have not been removed from the person's psyche. This is great. I'm going to talk so much about this. Line 3. Repeated penetration, humiliation. Repeated penetration refers to seeking a solution to a problem by employing one traditional or conventional means of help after another. Humiliation refers to the fact that none of the remedies available from these sources is of help, because the decisive factor is the sage that alone can activate the help as needed. By seeing the divisive help as coming from humans alone, a person obstructs or imprisons the sage and thus prevents the sage from helping him with the particular matter at hand. Often, the problem at hand is caused by the very phrases and images a person has adopted that dismiss the sage or slander nature, including his own nature. Examples are phrases about the sage. How can you trust something invisible? How do you know you can acquire the sage's help? This is a matter that only people can decide. The sage is just another belief. It's all just more smoke and mirrors. Coins cannot connect you with the cosmos. Helpers are delusional. The invisible world is a fantasy world. There is no relationship between thought and hard fact. You are relying on pure faith fluff. Other examples are phrases referring to public matters or politics. What can you do when the power belongs to the authorities? Only authorities can influence authorities. I don't care about the means. What counts is the end. You have to take matters into your own hands yourself. Just highlighting this. Still, other phrases are in regard to illness. Nature's means are unreliable. Nature is at fault. It's a natural defect. You are born with some defect, including the idea of original sin. In all such situations, it is wise to use the RTCM to see if projections, spells, or poison arrows need to be identified and removed. This line also refers to a person's repeatedly falling back on doubt about the cosmic way. It is not faith or trust that is needed, as suggested by the collective ego, but the suspension of disbelief that makes an opening for the sage to come to help. Line 4. Remorse vanishes. During the hunt, 3 kinds of game are caught. Remorse vanishes refers to having found and eradicated the root cause of the problem at hand. In seed phrases and images which have created projections or spells. 3 kinds of game refer to the multitude of seemingly unrelated problems that were created by the projection or spell, which have now been resolved. 3 kinds of game can also refer to the 3 kinds of causes for a condition of ill health. 1. Spells or poison arrows. 2. Fate. And 3. Incorrect treatment due to a mistaken assessment of the causes. Line 5. Being firmly correct brings good fortune. Remorse vanishes. Nothing that does not further. No beginning but an end. Before the change, 3 days. After the change, 3 days. Good fortune. Being firmly correct refers to the steps involved in freeing oneself from projections, spells, and poison arrows. It requires saying the inner no, A, to the person who has cast the projection, spell, or poison arrow, be it someone else or oneself. B, to the person who has unwittingly accepted it, be that someone else or oneself. And C, to each phrase and or image that comprises the projection, spell, or poison arrow. The last step, D, is to ask the sage and the helpers to delete it. Afterwards, it is appropriate to thank the sage and helpers for their help. This procedure is repeated for at least 3 days and is the meaning of the phrase, before the change, 3 days. After the change, 3 days, refers to the time needed for the effect to take place. The word change refers to the transformation that is brought about by saying the inner no. No beginning but an end refers to the absolute end brought to the negative element that has been in the psyche for a long time. No beginning but an end also refers to the way to end disharmony, by realizing that there is no such thing as a culprit. There are only mistaken ideas. Branding someone or something as a culprit freezes that person in their behavior through putting a spell on him. Then one side blames the other and vice versa, creating an ongoing warfare. To end the warfare, one needs to say the inner no to the idea of there being a culprit, and to free the other from the spell. Through this act, both the vicious circle, and the war are ended, restoring cosmic harmony. This line also refers to the necessity of putting an absolute end to the imps, dragons, and demons that compose the ego and which rampage through the psyche in demonic form. See glossary, demonic sphere of consciousness. They have not been discussed much in this volume because by giving them names, their existence as objective entities is empowered. When we see them only as aggregates of consciousness that are composed of faulty seed phrases and images, they become disempowered. Then, each phrase and image which composes them can be removed from the psyche through the inner know and with the help of the helpers. This removal disperses the clouds of disharmonious thought and deconstructs the imps, dragons, and demons, leaving us free of their demonic effects. Line 6. Penetration under the bed. Kinky. He loses his property and his axe. Perseverance brings misfortune. Alright. Penetration under the bed in this line is a metaphor for a person who is searching out the causes of his fate. Under the bed is a place where people have traditionally stored things. It here refers to his sorting through his past experiences for clues by categorizing them in the collective ego's terms of good or evil, right or wrong. So long as he does this, he will miss finding their inner truth and assign the wrong causes. Continuing in this matter will create a new fate. Losing his property refers to his disregard for his natural possession of common sense that would help him find the true causes of his fate. Losing his axe refers to his disregard for the ability of his word mind to make a correct decision when it is free from spells and from being harnessed to the defense of the traditional beliefs. When free, the word mind is able to distinguish what is true from the cosmic standpoint and what is not, and to make the necessary decisions that require his independent judgment. When free, it also enables him to give the correct names to things. See Hexagram 58, the joyful. In following what the collective ego calls good and evil, right and wrong, a person also believes that the good and the right must be defended and promoted. This leads to employing force and resorting to the courts of law. Resorting to power invariably creates a fate. A person may receive this line as counsel to ask the sage to show him in meditation the inner truth of the matter. My contemplations are next. That's a great one. And I think, I've mentioned this before in other contemplations of mine, that where we're going with a lot of this is full permission to be ourselves. And I'm going to bounce around inside this hexagram. I'm going to come back to the other view again. So what we have here, but the suspension of disbelief that makes an opening for the sage to come to help. This is the thing, all right? This is a pro tip. This is something that will revolutionize your life. The ego convinces you that you need to think more in order to overcome whatever the blockage is, right? No, it's actually even simpler than that. You just need to hold off on the suspension of disbelief. So whenever you feel the disbelief, just say no to it, right? It's so counterintuitive. Instead of trying to convince yourself through the miracles or social proof or whatever it is, just say no to the disbelief. Say no to the disbelief. And then I know in the crossover with my work, when I'm pre-qualifying someone, someone who wants to know what's on the other side is not being able, cannot say no to their disbelief. In fact, they probably struggle in their entire life with being with the unknown. What's on the other side? What's on the other side? Right? They want to know what's on the other side. And some people do need to know that, and some people cannot feel the common sense truth that's coming through their body. So if you can suspend the disbelief, you will have a transformation. You will naturally connect to your true self, and you let go of needing to know, because your relationship with death shifts, your relationship with money shifts, your relationship with life just shifts into a way that you just know that you're held by the cosmos, because the cosmos wants to help you become your most truest version of yourself, because that's what creates this thing that we're all moving towards, I think. Only authorities can influence authorities. I don't care about the means. What counts is the end. The end justifies the means. You have to take matters into your own hands and do this yourself. I'm the only one. I'm not going to share this with John because it feels insignificant, right? I just sorted out myself. Right? And with politics and crossover with government, right? Only authorities can influence government, right? No. Okay. This is such a lie. It's all such a lie. If you want something that endures, go to the atomic realm, right? Say the inner no. Be clear in your body what you're saying no to, okay? Be clear in your body what you know you're saying no to, okay? Nature's means are unreliable, right? Those that listen to this and do believe in nature, that have an understanding of nature, or that think death is anti-nature, and I've been there in the transhumanist movement, is that, death is unnatural and therefore we should be able to live forever. And I think this crossroads that we're at right now, this parallel reality we're at right now, is the journey through longevity treatments. Get your glasses, get your methylene blue or whatever else is currently hip right now, and assume that that's going to help you. When no, it's at the atomic realm. It's how you're living your life. It's your belief systems. It's the images and the poison arrows and the programming that's at the core of this. Yeah. The will at best only drive the symptoms to a new location, so long as the seeds of the problem have not been removed from the person's psyche. This is a very important line. This was line 2. So, my son cast this hexagram today. Okay, I come downstairs with my coins and my book and my Kindle, and I said, "Hey, Luca, I'm just going to do a hexagram today." He said, "Oh, I'll do a hexagram." Right? He's about 2.5. So I said, "Great, mate. Put him on my lap." And then I said, "Cool, mate. Just shake the coins and throw them, and I'll log it." Right? So he threw the coins, and I assumed that this hexagram was going to be for me. It's actually for him, okay, and for me to help him navigate what he's going through right now, because for him, he's got some behavioral stuff going on, and he's got some skin stuff going on. And Cassie and I have been going through this journey of not trusting mainstream medicine, right? This next child, we're looking to have a home birth, a wild birth. And then with Luca, we vaccinated him. Some of the initial vaccines that we gave him, some of them we skipped. And for me, because of my understanding of what vaccines were at that point in time, I was like, yeah, cool. All the childhood ones, I had them, I was fine. I was fine. Is not his truth, okay? So in this journey, and I can see that the symptom picture of what he has now could be vaccine injury, and it could also be just some of the seed phrases and the things and the projections and the poison arrows of that belief of mine that I have of that, right? So saying an inner no to the whole concept of vaccines, saying an inner no to the whole concept of science that derives that medicine, and furthermore, because we're seeing a homeopath, also knowing that what this is saying here in this hexagram is that the homeopathic remedy might improve his symptom picture, but then his symptoms will move somewhere else. And I've been listening to an audiobook over the last 24 hours about homeopathy, and the child in there, and she speaks of curing his autism through homeopathy, is the symptoms keep shifting. And I see this in my work when someone comes to me and they've done some kind of inner work, and the symptoms just shift into their relationships, right? If you don't deal with your relationship, if you think that you've dealt with your relationship issues, then it shifts into your business or some other area of your life, which was for me, okay? So I solidly got my relationship sorted, Now it's my business that has the growth vehicle for me, right? So for me in this is me logging back using the RTCM to find the seed phrases and poison arrows that Cassie and I have put on Luca about his current behavior. Like right now he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. He came out screaming. That could also be a part of it. So that's a seed phrase right there. He came out screaming, so why wouldn't he just continue, right? It doesn't have to be that way. So there's something that's in there that I can say no to. Can also be imps and dragons and demons that I've passed on to him through these belief systems that we put on him. Oh, he's a toddler, he's just going to get angry, right? But there's something in his behavior that doesn't it feels off to me, right? So helping him come back to his true self. So driving the symptoms is not something that I'm a part of. I love root cause healing, right? And root cause healing, I think we've become obsessed with science, that you need to get the detox, do the celery juice, do this, do that. It's actually something more simple. And I'm not curious. I know this is going to work. Like not even curious. I can see the benefits. Like he threw this freaking hexagram, okay? I can't feel myself in this when I'm reading it. This is actually for Luca, not for me. Reject them all by saying the inner no. Okay. So we would be projecting things into Luca's mind and body. Shrinking of his abilities. So here we go. When we say that we're getting older, I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, in my 40s. Midlife crisis is coming up. Right? All these little things that we say, which don't need to be said, shrink our abilities. So like losing my eyesight or this or that, like my bones are getting rickety. So even the concept of logging your age, right? Every year, birthday, another year older. How's this year? Well, same like the last year, just another digit, count the candles on your cakes. There's no need to track your age, right? It's an egoic thing. Who cares? Live. What does it matter? So saying no to birthdays. What else is here? That stood out to me. Right, cool. So what I also see in all of this is that if you haven't developed your own relationship with the sage, I recommend you having a go. And because I'm going to have my own slant on this, I'm going to have my own bias on this, okay? So if you're listening to this front to back or reading the book front to back, I encourage you to develop a relationship with the sage, because you might get a key that doesn't relate to you. I mean, you're going to get value out of it anyway, okay? Whatever you read, whatever you listen from this, you're going to get value out of it. These may or may not be correct for you, because the ego will be like, yeah, sure, that's happened in your life. Let's work on that. Let's keep you busy. Let's keep you disconnected from your common sense. When what you really need to do is actually put the phone down, put YouTube down, put me down, and go outside or go have a drink, go do a poo. Okay? So it's really important that you keep listening to your inner sense and know that, yes, listening to me and my beautiful, velvety, honey voice can be quite hypnotizing. And in that, also prioritizing yourself. Like, this honey voice didn't come overnight. I've been perfecting this for years. So what I encourage you to do is go live your life. Keep on listening to the hexagrams if it ticks the box for you. Develop a relationship with the sage if it feels attuned to you to do that. And keep on being curious. There's more to this. I'm sure if you're listening to this that you can see that consciousness is going through a renewal right now. And this is where we're going. We've been led to believe that the ego is the only source of power, that you have to get qualifications, you have to do this. No, there's something much deeper here at the atomic realm that I can see that's happening on a world stage, and it requires the patience and the presence to notice when you need to be saying an inner no to something. And being curious about going into through the RTCM and asking something that you haven't been introduced to from an early age. Right? This is new. Okay, it's new for a lot of people, right? Some people have been trained to project their authority onto a god or a deity or a goddess or a priestess or something else. This is not like that. This is something else, and I encourage you to be curious about it. All right, that's what I have for you.